You have your sign back for the holiday?
I see that McPherson still have.
All right, guys, 6:30 and we're racing the clock, so let's start with the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're gonna beat the record from last week, or month. So, we're gonna start with the review of the minutes. A little longer this one with all the authorizations.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as written.
I will second that motion.
All right, any questions about the minutes? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next up. Shannon.
Oh, that was quite. You have my report in front of you, like I told you last month, it's a bigger month, we brought in 848,000. In December. But we also paid out about 423,000, and you have our bank balances that are looking a lot better than last month as well. We do not have any outstanding ready draws at the moment, but we will have one by the end of this week for the rest of the ready funds. So.
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll second.
Any questions for that? All in favor?
Aye.
Let's saw the bills. I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Do I need to abstain? since I-
Yeah, so if you haven't been through it yet.
Okay.
All right, I'll go there, for DBW.
I'll report for Lynn.
Okay.
He's out sick, but his report's in the file. It's been a very quiet month. Without the snow, they've been working on, maintenance items, working on equipment, getting ready in the event that there's pretty weather. They are continuing to do Christmas tree pickup. I think they have another week. And then they'll be done with that. And that's all he has.
For the record, I want people to take note of number one. This was written before the snow
Yeah,
came.
he turned it in Friday, jinxed us.
And then the snow came, just, so the.
I'll get you
I
waiting.
think we're still waiting on the repair for the pump downtown.
Yeah, so that's the number 6.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's,
still
I believe it's, if they're on site, I don't know if
I
it's
think
not
it was
delivered
supposed to
yet.
come this week and it was supposed to be installed by the end of this week was the last time I talked to him, so it should
It
be.
wasn't there today, Mikey said tomorrow, I believe.
Okay, so I do, it's on
It
its
does
way.
have 2 other pumps. My concern and why I was like,
Well, a lot of water right now and that's the other.
yeah, they're all, I think 12 or 13 years old, the lifespan's 10, and I was concerned that when one dropped, the others go from being on a third of the time. to
Well,
being
the
on
one that went was the
50%.
big one,
Yeah,
and so, yeah.
but yeah,
that's all it was.
very cool. Can't have any questions for Lynn because he's not here, so on to Officer Gleason.
I put my report in the shared drive there. Like you said earlier, it was a shorter duration since the last meeting, so obviously the numbers are all lower. We're still working on some of Jim's, zoning stuff as far as catching up with the people and hammering out the rest of the paperwork. I've been talking to Ms. Herringer when we need to, as far as like, because she's the one that represents, Kendall, Walton, and Berlin. And so we're making sure everything's on the up and up. Any questions as far as the report goes?
No. All right, on to the fire.
I can give their report, their financials are in the report or in the folder. I did mention to them, they're gonna do their budget submission by the end of this month.
Okay, great.
So,
So when they've got like their repair 25K, they've only done 11, they just roll that into their vehicle fund.
tell me that again?
So down at repair, they budgeted 25K. And they've used, I think, 11. There's only 2 months left. So I was just curious, did they just take that?
Their-
roll it into the-
Don't forget, their budget is different than ours.
Does it starts in April or it looks like there's only 3 months left, so they should be, they're making,
Is it? I thought their cycle is different than ours.
It is. Theirs starts in
It's
April, ours
Okay.
starts in June, the school starts, or sorry, the town starts what calendar year?
Yes.
It's
I can't
not a
keep
that
it.
important question, I just,
I know that they've been waiting on people coming to, like, thankfully, I don't think they've had a lot of repairs needed. But they do have older equipment, so I think they do budget. It will get rolled in if they don't need to use it, yes.
yeah, I didn't, nothing is over, I folded it over and checked, like, they're on target. for everything.
Yes.
I already asked you before, is there any way to get them on the same budget cycle as us?
No,
You
Mandated by
can-
it's mandated by the state.
you
That's
could
why,
change.
Everybody is.
right. The town's different, the village is different, the fire department's different. It's very confusing, but we all have our own bylaws and that's just the way it is. We go through this every budget year. It's very confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice, but it is more or less not possible.
You can keep asking though.
I'll
Maybe
keep
the answer will change.
It's gonna come down to we need to change our budget cycle.
Right.
Something, it would certainly be easier.
All right, move on to the heritage area, Dave?
Yeah, you have my report also, working on closing out the older LWRP grant that paid for some of the waterfront. And starting up the new grant out, the mayor signed the contract, and there's some other documents that we're sending in, so just been working on that.
Do you, Corey, do they sync up on the manhole over there in the crosswalk?
At Pickering Beach?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's getting fixed.
yes, it's gonna be a spring thing, but yeah.
So no problem, I just wanna make sure, I didn't know if it was on your radar too,
No, it wasn't, but
the
that's,
manhole's got like a 1 inch
oh, yes, I
lip, so
did,
it's
yes,
just
I
a
did know, yeah. I did.
ridiculous tripping hazard, so they're gonna fix it.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, any other questions for Dave?
Just about the 60-day review, did you get that paper? Wasn't there something you were gonna get to Peggy before she? Were you doing the language on that?
No, the
thing
six,
We had to adopt, or did we already do it?
The
Yeah,
law's
that's-
gotta go through boroughs. He's gotta.
yeah,
write
the,
it through
the
boroughs.
two waterfront laws, I forwarded on.
That's
to-
what I was asking. I just wanted to make sure I got forwarded.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had like the draft, but Jim.
I just remembered
has
he
to
said he was gonna do the
formalize it,
language, but
and
he was gonna
then-
send that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that was done.
Cool. Anything else? All right, Kathy?
You've got my report as well. The only things I wanted to mention, just thanking DPW, although none of them are here today. But they did a great job decorating the visitor center. They did the exterior, and then the chamber, Heike, Tracy, and Donna all did the interior, and it looked great. We got lots of compliments, so wanted to thank them both. And then also we've advertised the assistant position, and we are already getting resumes, so.
Great.
It's been good. Yeah, I don't know if you have any
Oh,
questions.
right there.
Yeah, it is in there.
So I don't want to get into it super deep, but I was not 100% sure how we were going to coordinate with the historical society and the chamber, and to what end we can really involve them directly in a public employee interview.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think if the goal is just knowing that we want a candidate that not necessarily, they don't have to agree to that, right? But we want someone who has the skills to do it and do that. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure the best way to,
First time around, we just offered it to the candidate.
okay.
The two organizations, and
Okay.
there's also these
Sounds good.
opportunities.
Yeah, because I don't think it's appropriate for us to say, in order to get this position, you have to agree to
Right.
two other part-time positions. So I just want to make sure that we're not doing
Yeah.
that.
And if we do the search and we find somebody and they don't want to do that, are we free to then share the resumes of everybody else? Is that allowed?
I think we'd have to ask the people.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, because we can also
There.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just, I would be annoyed if someone forwarded mine.
That's
on
what
it,
that's
so.
true, yeah, okay.
All right, any questions for Kathy? All right. We got one more up next. Janet, you got a busy one this month. huh?
Yeah, so the report basically is three parts, what we did last month is pretty routine. And then a little summary of what the year was. Just how many site plans, which was same as the previous year. Twice as many special permits. No subdivisions. And then the third part was just a little commentary for me about what I think is still important to keep in mind and for the village board. And one of those Greg is already tackling, or not, I shouldn't say already, but it was a year ago, I mentioned most of these three things, and one is to really keep track of what's going on for the infrastructure agreement at Madison Barracks. And so that's underway. And then another is the situation with our zoning law doesn't really governs special permit guidelines for structures or uses, and that we've had 6 special permits this year, and several of them were for temporary uses or structures, so
True to the coop,
2 of the
what, you know,
coop,
the other 4 off the top of your head?
a house on Ambrose to convert from 2-family to multi, and that was governed okay.
The other one was in the barracks. They had something on the outside of their porch. Is that Eric Viola?
Oh, yeah,
That one?
the bear,
That was
yeah.
especially bad too.
Residents on Bayview, temporary
Yeah.
closure for the porch. So of the 6 special permits, 3, we didn't really have anything to work with.
Sure.
But especially downtown, we were trying to accommodate businesses. But we had over the past year had comments from people, what the heck's up with a white tent downtown? I didn't think you could have that for more than a weekend. You know, so it's in conflict with our zoning law. But we also want to be attentive to what businesses need. So we were trying to work with that. And so the recommendation is to have the zoning rewrite committee look at that and see
Makes sense.
how do we uphold our historic district guidelines and protect the investment of people that have spent much more than money for a tent to expand their eating area or retail area, you know, whatever the situation is. So, let's see, what was the other 3 things? Zoning law. And Madison Barracks, infrastructure agreement. The PDD map. Madison Barracks, that's been an ongoing problem for quite a while because village basically doesn't have its copy of the plan development district map. And where it is, nobody really knows, and yet that's part of our zoning law. And a number of changes have been made to the plan development district. And those are linked to the zoning law, and we should have a map of that. And back when Molly Riley was mayor, then Eric Constance, there were little efforts to kind of move that forward, and it would go forward and then stop, and then the pandemic and.
Does Lawman have a copy that like used to be accurate that we could get?
Do
to
we
start
have
with?
one?
Well, does Lawman, who would have it? You said we didn't have our.
Or Waller Realty has a map that they produced.
Okay,
And there was a lot of discussion, is that accurate, or is that their map that reflects what they want?
sure.
So it seems like there was some agreement that, yeah, that's probably pretty close to what the village thinks represents each property and what it is used for and could be used for legally.
Sure.
But that has to be finalized, and then linked with that is the changes that have occurred within Madison Barracks.
Yeah.
We have to make sure the zoning law was truly amended to reflect that, and our planning board attorney was working with us on that.
Okay.
And then pandemic came, and then his office changed structure and everything kind of got off track. But I think he'd be willing and able to work on that. I'm not the one to authorize that,
It's not sure.
and it's something that, you know, is important for the
Sure.
community
Yeah.
legally, so. All right.
All right, what do you need? You need a resolution for us to authorize him to spend those hours, is that?
Something, whatever you are happy with,
Could you,
say, yeah, go ahead.
could you get us an estimate from David as to like what we're looking at cost wise to get this done?
Yeah,
Cause that, I think, once we have that, we can,
Well, then
Right,
but
if we
it's-
can do that, we can budget it in this next budget cycle. That would be helpful, which.
he's got, you know, it involved the surveyor, not to do surveys, but the head map.
Sure.
And it's, so the survey, I think it's Gymo has that on file, you know, computer file map. And we have various versions of notes on that, so it's not starting at square one.
yeah, and if it's something that David doesn't have the bandwidth for, we could always ask Jim as well.
Yeah,
So
and,
let's-
and I don't care who you ask, but I
Sure.
think David has a much deeper background on it because of what he's been doing
Yeah,
before,
if-
but they can easily talk to
Okay,
Jared.
does that make sense, guys? If we have her just talk to Dave and get us a sort of almost like a quote or
Yeah.
estimate on what he thinks in terms of, is it a 6-month process, a 3-month process, and how much it'll cost? And then we can decide if that's fast and cheap enough, or if we need to get a second quote from Burroughs and.
And two points in use of the magic word first off, was we're not gonna start from ground zero. We already have someone to start. Two, when we do this to them, what are we gonna have? What's the tangible thing?
We're gonna have a map that's a legal part of our zoning law that shows every structure in Madison Barracks and what it is allowed to have right now
Okay,
in terms of its use.
so the focus is just Madison Barracks, so, but, okay,
Absolutely just that.
okay, okay.
And a year ago it came up as a concern because I was seeing that properties were being sold there. It was one thing when it was 1 or 2 owners, but now there's I don't know how many others. And some people acquired property with the vision of, oh, I'm gonna do this or that, and they may not really know they can't do this or that yet.
Mm.
You know, so that's not a good situation for the village to be in.
Okay. Yeah, there is. Any other questions for, you got anything else before we move on?
No, that's-
All right, thank you.
Zoning application.
Oh, correct. Yeah, we
right.
have to actually make an
Thank
approval. Did you guys, have you saw I think it was emailed, basically a garage demolition. The planning board approved it, but we need to authorize the demolition because it's in the historic overlay, is that why?
In the residential zone.
Yeah. So they're demolishing and rebuilding a garage.
Is there dynamite involved?
I
If
think
you
the
want-
nice wind might do it.
Right? Where is it?
It's on Hake Street, right near Bayview.
Okay.
The Miller,
Yeah, there's only one garage I can even think of.
yeah, it's
Like,
yellow. It's in between Montalvo's and
Yeah,
Okay,
Cool.
yeah, as long as you approve that. Do we need a resolution?
We do.
Need a motion to approve it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the planning board application 23-65.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Get you a sledgehammer.
You have sledgehammer to help.
All right, CEO, I don't think Jim is here or online, but he's got a pretty long report. Pretty busy year for him. One thing he mentioned, and I don't remember if it's in this. Or, no, he had put in just some numbers of the hours he's spending and put in a request to consider that in his pay. I told him, you know, he mentioned that when I asked if he was interested in continuing, and I said, that's done in the budget hearing, so we'll talk about that during budget, but just to bring that up.
Okay.
The other thing is, this and our legal bill being over are very related.
Yeah.
A lot of these, I mean, it's obvious after the fact, but I didn't really think about it when I first saw the legal bills for the next to the dog issue over by the school. I forget the name of the people there,
Yeah.
but the bills that we had versus the fine that was, like, we can levy a $250 fine and we have $3,000 in legal bills, so it's an expensive hammer to use, so we should be, you know, careful about when we deploy that and try to resolve things ahead of time. I know Jim does that, but you know, if we don't ever use it, then we're encouraging people to just ignore our polite requests. So it's kind of a balance. Hopefully, as people see things get ticketed, there will be less need to do it, but we may want to toss through the process and see if we can reduce the legal cost of issuing a simple ticket.
I'm wondering if these are extreme cases, though. I mean, it's not like we have people that are,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping that it's just that. These particular situations seems to be just, you know, people being pretty stubborn about the laws and
Yeah.
not wanting to give an inch.
And if it goes to court though, as well as we should probably talk about the process, because it does go to court, you know, and we're on the hook for legal fees, you know, and we end up being in the right. Why aren't they paying for legal fees on top of?
I don't know if that's how that works.
You know, But to Alex's point.
My understanding is
why would-
uncommon.
But I don't wanna
It's-
not do it, because that encourages people to just disregard our law.
Of course,
Like,
yeah.
that's silly.
No, but I'm curious if there's a process review that we could do to maybe standardize some of this, so Jim's not starting and doing everything from scratch.
Sure.
I don't, it's a conversation to have with him, I'm not sure. But I was surprised to see, issuing a ticket, serving a notice, showing up at
We've been
court,
chasing that one down for
Uh,
2 months, 3 months.
2-3 grand,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So,
Costs us a lot of money to enforce law.
yeah,
Yeah.
all right.
Let me just mention one thing real quick, just from a 10,000 foot view, you guys are aware we pay two different law firms, right?
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if that is the most efficient way to do things going forward.
When I first came on, we had one attorney, but then they split, right? And that's why we ended up one with the zoning and one with the other.
Yeah,
Didn't that happen
Well,
right after we came on?
it was. Gertson wasn't at that firm, wasn't he?
Yeah, they
Oh,
were in
were,
the
okay,
They
same.
worked
they were.
together and then
Yeah,
they
it happened to me
split,
just
and-
before
and
we
he was
started.
really involved in our zoning stuff, so we
Yeah.
decided to.
We had a lot of
Okay,
projects.
I mean,
that were
from a
still-
practical point of view, it makes sense, but
Right.
I'm just wondering because we always talk about that being the biggest piece of our budget is the legal fees.
Yeah,
And so instead of paying, one firm for services, now we're paying two firms.
yeah,
I would just add that I don't think it's because the firm split. That Dave Gertson has handled the planning board stuff for a long time, I can't remember when, but like since Dennis Welpley passed away. And he had worked on it while Dennis was still practicing. Going back to Samayo's projects.
okay. So he's just more
So, yeah,
historical.
So-
it's too.
And Jim Burrows became more involved when there was the Galoo Island proposal that involved planning board review. And I don't know what else he did with the village board, but I don't see that it's because they're two different firms. It's just that they've both been involved, one with planning board specifically, and then one just general village business. And but I'm not saying you should have to, I'm just saying, I don't think.
I'm just
that
saying we should at least keep that in mind when we're going through our budget every year,
Yeah.
is that, those numbers are high, but that might be in part why. And again, maybe for practical purposes, that's the best way to.
Yeah.
To go forward, but
That's for sure a conversation when we sit down
Yeah.
with the budget stuff.
All right, let's see, after Zio, we've got the. Village engineer, BCA.
Good evening. So for phase one, we received Lawman's November rec for 98,000. That does include a retention reduction of 2.5%, so there's still just over 100,000 on Lawman. We don't necessarily agree with it yet because there's lien waivers that are still outstanding. Essentially, they're just confirmation from their suppliers and their subcontractors that they paid them. We have most of them, but there's like one outstanding that we'd like to see in order to pay that. So I think there's a resolution would need to be made, make that payment when we receive the lien waiver.
Is that the supplier has a lien on the materials that are now in our
It could,
possession? So if
Could,
they-
it doesn't necessarily mean they do, but it's
Sure.
just confirmation that, hey, they don't owe any money
Okay,
to somebody.
good.
So yeah, there's that, cable rails are up in the Market Square Park.
So for that lien waiver, is it important for us to do that now, or are you okay waiting until the February meeting? Cause
I
I'm
think-
fine with a contingent approval saying I can sign off on that once the.
I
lien
think
waiver is
I
received.
think they're gonna have it any day now,
Okay,
so I'm sure they'd probably not wanna wait,
all
but
right. Is that a problem from your perspective at all?
It's not in the bills.
It's not in the bills.
No.
Okay, well, that's gonna.
okay, I guess it just waits.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So we'll just wait then for next month for that approval.
Okay. Change order 7 for the West Boat Ramp, there was a deduct to the village or credit to the village for a little over 11, almost $12,000.
Christmas party
Oh.
just got more fun.
I've been talking with Shannon about FEMA. They requested about 20 items a couple weeks ago. I submitted that to FEMA for, it was like 350 pages of information on Friday, so hopefully they don't take too long, but I'm not hopeful. Lawman's, November rec for phase 2 was just under 75,000. Thanks, Shannon.
That one's gonna be.
We did have a substantial, I think so there's a substantial completion certificate that I gave to you,
Yep.
Alex. So we did a walkthrough of phase 2, and then there's just a couple punch list items, but I think we're in agreement that it's in.
Yeah, if you guys have any
It's
questions about the
substantially
punch
complete.
list specifics, but Lynn was there, there's a few, like the manhole that I mentioned earlier was. About an inch above the.
Yep.
Pavers, they're gonna lower that down in the spring, there's a few other small things.
Yeah, like grass, and I think they've got to put some more stone in the. In between the pavers.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
like
yeah,
all
the
spring work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
But what's this alignment, west dock, what does that mean?
So if you look at the west dock, it's kind of kinked to one side a little bit. So they understand, Lawman understands that they're gonna have to come back and tension the chains to get it straight.
Okay, and they also like, they're gonna, I think they probably already have, but they're showing Lynn and the guys how to adjust that as, Is there
So they can do it
tension?
themselves, okay.
I don't know what they're called, the pensioners.
Yeah, they're chains that hook
Yeah.
into the side. Let's see here, so substantial completion, phase 2 project, which is essentially Hamilton Street, is under winter shutdown until mid-April for now. And obviously, I think as weather permits, they hope to get it done sooner than later, so. I did have to submit an time extension request to FEMA, just because the last item was the topping of Market Square Park. So that's till July 1st. In our last meeting with Lawman, they expressed they'd probably be done by mid-May, potentially, weather permitting, so. And I guess one thing was, I know that there's one item in front of Harbor Master where the old entrance was along the main street, potentially not putting the curb in or. putting
Yeah,
the curb
basically,
in.
I figured we're trying to save cash on this project because we're a little over budget. I asked them how they were doing, and they said, we're good, the last thing we have to do is dig out this curb, put a new curb in, dig out the pavement on the entrance and put grass in. And I said, well, it'd be nice for Lynn and the guys, they're plowing that sidewalk up to the parking with the snow blower. And having the ability to drive up in there from the street and not have a curb there is nice. And it's good also for wheelchair access. If somebody parks in the wheelchair accessible in the parking lot, they take the ramp down, they can get out over to Whiskey Coop, the other side of the street much easier. And it's just a lot cheaper to not do any of that work. So I asked Lynn if he thought it would be sufficient to just put 2 nice planters there so that we block vehicle traffic, but he can move them as needed for his own. He said that'd be good, but we wanted to run it by you guys before we change anything in the project. But essentially it would mean however much that cost, I mean, I don't know, a few $1,000s.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not something that has to be made right now, but just.
Yeah.
Upcoming in the spring.
Next time you walk by, take a look and you'll see what I mean. I think it's actually better as is and more functional, and it's certainly
I
cheaper
noticed
than.
the sidewalk was in it.
We don't have to give it
Yeah.
credit to get.
Yeah, so it's just from the street to the main sidewalk where a car would normally, have
Right.
driven in the
I
past.
can't remember if I noticed what.
Yeah,
it
it's
was
just
right
the
now.
curb cut smooth down and there's a granite like flush and then back up, so. digging
But a
all that out,
planter would prevent a car from
Right.
trying to drive through
Yep.
there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple planters is plenty for. Right now, you can't, I mean, they have a one snow plow or snow blower machine width cutout.
Okay.
So it's very clearly not an entrance, but in the summer, people with old habits may turn there, so we want to put something.
Right.
But I think it's just a much cheaper solution.
I like the idea of it being ADA compliant so people can get through there. That
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, because otherwise, if they're coming, I think the next cutout, they have to go back up the hill to the other parking lot's entrance, which is kind of unnecessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you need anything formal for that, but.
No, it was just something just to.
Okay. Yeah,
I think we wanted.
if you guys, next time you're over there, just get a look at it. If you have any problems with it, let me know and we can talk it out. But otherwise, it's not really an issue till spring.
And 2X, the curb is actually built into the budget for the project.
Right.
So if we're gonna receive anything, we'd have to ask for credits with Lawman to see what they provide for not doing that.
Okay.
And they just offered that asphalt between the sidewalk and the road, like, hey, if you wanna make that concrete, we can make that concrete. As a, in lieu of doing the concrete curb is what they offered. Got it.
That'd be huge.
Well,
Then just, Brown Shores Road, the pump station, we're out to bid right now. Bid opening is January 25th at 2 P.M. This is the replacement of the two pumps at the Brown Shores lift station and a new FRP building to close that. So we've got, I think, 3 or 4 contractors that are plan holders. So we've got some interest out there, which is great. And,
how long is the bidding process open?
January 25th is bid opening.
How long, when is it stay open for?
Typically, we try to do a minimum of 3 weeks.
Okay.
Opening, it was, advertised in the paper last week, so.
Okay, cool.
And the only thing I probably, we had a substantial completion date of July 1st, and with some of the lead times of the pumps potentially, some contractors are asking, that date. I'm probably gonna put an addenda out there to move that July 1st to September 1st to give some larger window. We want as many bidders as we can. I don't wanna have someone not bid on it because they don't think they can come on time. And then, just that one easement, that we're looking for there for the project. When we had a chance.
He didn't reply. I messaged Jim today. But I saw the email at like 11 and I didn't want to text it.
Yeah.
So I waited till today, but I haven't heard back.
Okay,
We're just waiting on Jim to write up the easement, but he already knows it's on his to-do list.
water intake, DOH is still reviewing our plans and specs on that. They said they'll look at it in the near future. This is all new DOH, so we're hoping to push that along. It's really, talking with some contractors, as soon as the ice is out, they'd like to start that project on the land side. We're drilling out into the lake for the first 1,100 feet or so, so.
Where are you coming? Are you coming in from inside the plant or do you start in the lawn and then back?
So the actual pipe, yeah, the pipe will be coming into the plant, but the actual directional drilling machine will be out in the lawn.
Okay, and then
then
it's
start
trench.
Yep. So, and then we've got our permitting, we're working through that as well. Our WE application, unfortunately, we did not get any funding for the water and sewer that we submitted on. I know Alex, you asked if there's anything else we can do to help strengthen the application. We'll see what they come back with. But yeah, this is our second time submitting for that without funding.
And what do we have, Shannon, on the capital we have set aside, is about the same as the estimate in the water and sewer funds?
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about this last meeting, I believe, briefly, but Sarah, I know it's hard to hear on Zoom. So essentially, the WIA grant would give us the funds to replace the 4 remaining streets that have old sewer and water lines. We do have capital set aside in those funds to cover that, but it would tap out our capital reserves. Unfortunately, being responsible and having the funds also makes us less likely to be awarded the grant. So right now, we're kind of in limbo where none of it has enough or really any issues such that we have to urgently replace it. So we just have been continually for a few years now, we'll probably do it again this year. Trying again and waiting. If the water or sewer in those areas start to become a problem, we might have to pull the trigger sooner. But I'd love to pay for it external to our own funds so that we can keep that capital reserve in place. So that's where that is. We heard about this months ago, right? But it wasn't officially announced until like a week ago. I feel like they informally said you didn't get it.
I thought we got an email that said it wasn't approved.
I guess I don't know if I saw that or not.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe I'm just remembering last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lastly, the inflow and infiltration study kind of sat down with Lynn, looking at the areas that we want to, look at and just kind of want to finalize, sit down with you, Alex, as well. That was kind of something we put together to try to look at stormwater.
Yeah.
So. And that's it.
All right, so you do need a resolution for the substantial completion of the second project. We didn't delay it. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions for them about that? Any questions on the punch list? I think it's smaller than the one from phase one, correct?
Yeah.
In terms of percentage.
And Lynn's aware of everything. that's on the
Yeah.
list. I'm confident with Lynn.
Yes.
As long as he knows.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the substantial completion form for the phase two. or most of
Additional
phase two.
approval?
It's substantial.
It's
Or what-
everything except for Hamilton Street
Yeah, so it's phase two with the exception of the
or
Hamilton Street.
Robinson.
Yeah, is it Robinson Hill Park, Robinson Park Hill?
Robinson
it's
Hamilton.
We'll go with Robinson's Hill Park.
Okay, Robinson.
Mine says.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's-
perfect. That's what it is. We're gonna do the new sign. All right,
That's official.
great.
Yes.
All right, so I'll get that signed.
Did you get
Did anybody second it?
that? No.
All
I'll
right,
second it.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Well, they both did pick
I-
one.
Greg said.
I'd be
twice.
Ron.
You guys, we're making good time. You
Great
guys want to arm wrestle with it. All right. Okay, and then the only other thing I had questions for you guys, when we're talking about substantial completion and punch lists. It looks like the letter that Craig sent had 4 items. One was street lighting, one was the water, one was the actual documents.
Yep.
And one was the as-bills, or the.
Yeah, review of it.
So the as-bills and then the conveyance documents. The as-bills we have.
Corey's got the
Okay.
revision, yep.
So once you've approved those and the street lighting, I talked to lawman the other day and they said that that was something, and I'll have to confirm with Lynn, that Lynn needs to actually call in the meter drop request because they don't put it in their name at first. If that's all done and they can't fix the water in the parking lot until spring, is that like sufficient to say the same substantial completion of the
No.
punch list? If we have a small, an asphalt, they can't fill that asphalt until asphalt season. And it's a relatively small part of the job. They're under warranty and they're bonded. I would hate to hold up any applications all the way until May if everything else is in place.
The problem with accepting it now, though, is it puts our DPW on task for plowing, and I don't think the plow crew wants to touch that
Okay.
until
Yeah, that's right.
it's fixed. So I just don't wanna, like, I'm just thinking of our plow truck.
Now, is substantial
Damage, that kind of
completion,
stuff.
this, I don't know if, well, I guess if the conveyance isn't done, then. Yeah, all right,
Once the
Yeah,
conveyance is over, we're on the hook to start
Understood,
plowing, and
yeah.
I wanna wait
yeah,
until it's fixed.
Well, I mean, there is a potential for a pedestrian accident there. I mean,
yeah,
that glazes over
sure.
and
And it's quite a
Okay,
bit
yeah, I
of
just,
water.
I
It's
just
not
wanted to
a little
understand
bit,
it,
it's a
and
lot.
that's sufficient, I'm
Yeah.
happy with that answer, I just didn't, in my head, I was thinking, oh, it seems like a small asphalt, because that's where we are with Market Square Park as well, we have to do the final.
Right, but I think in the long term,
But
looking at
for
what we would
plowing and
immediately
things
be
like that.
responsible
Yeah.
for.
Cool. Um, I'm taking a note so I don't forget. All right, what is next here? We are on to the, oh, well, any other questions for BCA before we jump away? All right. Thanks, guys. Next up is the clerk. She is missing, so deputy
You got
acting
nothing?
clerk.
Nothing to report.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have community orgs.
Yeah.
Let's start.
So Kathy and Daryl have been working hard on getting the 2024 visitor guide pulled together. So hopefully by the end of the month here, that'll be ready to get sent off to the printers and be ready in time for the eclipse. And then Michael Dennehy is taking over as the Chamber's Marketing Committee Chair. So him and our village marketing committee are partnering up and getting together, and we've been working on our budgeting and figuring out kind of what our asks for this year are gonna be, and yeah, trying to work as closely together as we can, so.
Cool. Thanks. And the guy that you referred to me, Mike, the 5K guy,
Yes.
he actually has an application and we'll
Oh,
see.
good,
It's there's a few issues, but I think we may end up doing it, so.
cool,
Yeah.
right,
He came to the village twice. I toured him around.
yeah,
yesterday he ran the course and then came into the shop to chat, is like freezing and covered in sweat. I was like, yeah, he's a serious
Yeah.
runner, but thank you for the referral.
Yep.
Any questions for Scott? Chamber questions? All right, any other boards? Dave, you got anything for us there? I think we're good then. Next up is the village historian reports. I think Connie's on Zoom. Let me-
Yep, I submitted a report, which you all have. And in addition to that, then I also dropped off a flyer and also sent it out an email for a program coming up, which is the Sackets Harbor Historical Society Battlefield Alliance Combined Annual Meetings. But I think for the public, it would be really great to attend because Dr. Lori Rush from Fort Drum is going to be the guest speaker. And that's coming up Thursday, January 18th at 7 o'clock in the evening at the Union Hotel building.
Great, thanks, Connie. Any questions for Connie on the event or the historian report?
Is that somewhere on the event calendar?
Not yet, she only just gave, I got it this week,
Okay.
it will be soon.
Cool, that's cool.
Right, thanks, Connie. All right, all good for department reports. We didn't miss anybody, right? Yeah. All right, we'll move on to board reports. I'll start. Yesterday, I got a call from the police chief in Watertown to go to a safety and logistics meeting for the eclipse. They had reps from a few communities there, county. The county sheriffs can't really adjust because the entire county is in the eclipse, but the state troopers are kind of sending everyone they can up. Rochester and Buffalo are going to take the lion's share of the traffic, but Watertown's expecting essentially gridlock traffic. They're running buses to the Thompson Park. They're not allowed parking up there. They're parking at Target and Northern Plaza, and they're trying to coordinate all that. I did get word from Brandy over at the Volunteer Transportation Center, who are helping supply buses, that Hilton Garden Inn had actually inquired how to arrange buses from their hotel into Sackets, because they think it'll be a better viewing place than a Watertown where everyone's kind of cramped. So I haven't gotten in touch with them to see if they are sending buses, how many, when, so we can kind of figure out how to handle that. There's a lot of talk about parking. If it's dry, great. There's places we could do, field parking. If it's frozen, great, but more than likely it will be a mud pit. We're gonna be constrained to only real surface lots in the village. So
Are we concerned with having enough volunteer? It's a Monday or Tuesday?
So
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
none of our
I'm just wondering,
programming is volunteer focused. Most of it is,
I'm just thinking of parking and
Oh,
directing
parking, yeah,
people and that kind of stuff. We generally rely on fire department
Mhm.
and a lot of the work. I just.
Yeah.
Like the big bulk of our volunteer base is gonna be potentially might not be available, so I
Sure.
just don't
sure.
know if we have a
Um,
backup for that.
Yeah, I think we definitely want signage. We probably want temporary parking signage.
I
John,
think we could partner with the school
I've been trying.
with
well,
parking and have like volunteers help direct.
In Watertown, the superintendent has yet to commit to anything besides an early let out. Because if they do a half day, that's something some funding
I know some
situation.
districts are having them come in late and stay late so that they're actually at school
Sure.
during that, but
Yeah,
teachers' contracts are like, my day's done at 4. So
right, yeah, so I
don't know if that's really gonna
I've been
fly.
discussing it with
Um,
Gwen, she
She talked about
it
doing an early
seems-
dismissal.
and she has seemed open to the idea of a day off, depending on. There's also talk at the state level about just declaring it like a state of emergency in advance so that schools don't get penalized, because we really don't want,
We don't ever get our days back when they do that, though.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna have to eat a snow day
yeah.
unless we don't have
Well,
it.
you didn't use any for December.
But.
Yeah,
don't
no, I-
jinx us. We got a lot of winter
No, I
left.
know, and the concern is,
I would rather not.
with,
Technically, I'm still
with
working right
traffic,
now until
they're worried about EMS ability
Yeah.
to get to Syracuse if there's a trauma that needs to, so.
Well, and
um,
like, as you mentioned in here, the phone situations, that
Yeah.
being able to call
We-
911 was a problem.
The Fourth of July, we could not send text messages to the village. Now
Yeah.
I have a contact with Verizon to get I think they're called cows, they're like a big temporary cell tower.
Yep.
They don't. They probably will be enough for us. They may not, depending on how the network is affected by Watertown being very full. So just so everyone here knows, in any sort of like emergency event, if you have internet, but the cell service is down, iPhones will work for texting to other iPhones if you have Wi-Fi, which is helpful. But beyond that,
Do you think we should publicly put something out as we get closer to let people know that signal services might be an issue? I mean, if we're already thinking about it, I just,
yeah,
safety wise, I know we won't know exactly what it's gonna look like,
Well,
but we should
about 10
probably
days out, we'll
warn.
know better because we'll know if it's gonna be clear weather, bad weather, snowstorm, 78 degrees again like this year.
Alex, you said something at the beginning of this conversation that kind of made me think. The Watertown Chief of Police is already a plan for this. Do you think this village with our, our chief and our fire department should probably do a little planning session as well?
So this is why I went, because this one was supposed to be their regional safety planning section, and I wanted to see what they were doing, how they're handling things, and they're doing another 2 meetings before, so they're doing it on the 8th, and then April.
Our fire chief works with Rich Little, so I'm sure that he'll find out, what the city is doing, but we should probably do something in the village wise, just to.
Yeah,
But again, I'm thinking manpower, a lot of those people, if they're shifting and they're working, that could be a potential issue. Pick
What
up
do you
Monday.
think, John? Are you guys scheduling out that far yet for that or no?
I'll get with Mr. Derwin and we'll come up with a plan.
Okay.
But I mean, in
And I
terms
can
of the-
mention it at
the
the next
sheriff.
meeting with them that I have, just to see,
Yeah.
is it on their radar, that kind of thing, but that would be helpful.
I just meant like the sheriffs. Are you guys expecting to all be pretty much working that weekend with the added traffic, or how's like? I don't know how that works at your, where if all the guys that we have as part-time are gonna be allocated.
I have not seen any directives come down
Okay.
as far as these folks.
Good.
of the sheriff's office.
Okay.
We
Sounds
should
good.
probably get together, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe just do some kind of brainstorming.
So we do have, the next bullet I have is the Army Training Reserve, and they're coming to do like a mock emergency exercise. One thing, just so everyone here knows, that means on Sunday, the 21st of January, there will be Humvees with uniformed soldiers driving around, talking to people. This is not a problem. This is a drill. We know they're coming. They're here.
Connie's still
Please
on-
spread the word. We are, what,
Connie's still on the meeting.
she is.
Just
Yeah.
to make sure she knew.
So they don't necessarily need a ton of input from us. They've requested anyone who is available that day and is on the village staff or maybe the fire department, if they're willing to answer questions. And essentially, they're coming here on a role play as though there is a unprecedented flood and we need evacuation assistance. And then they'll be asking questions of whoever's available to partake in this exercise. I said they'll have a few groups of 4 to 6 soldiers. We'll give them names of people who are around and times we can talk, and they'll stop by and ask questions for 20, 30 minutes and then go and put that info into their exercise.
Do you have a general time, or is it just like an all day?
I don't yet, I can get it, we're having our meeting that morning and then, I'll just be
I can talk
around
to the
all
fire
day.
department to see
Yeah.
if they're available, I just wanna
Yeah.
give them like a.
So I'll get you guys more info on the details. I can forward you the chain because he kind of writes out a little more
Okay.
about what's going on. But I thought that might be a good opportunity to talk about, like, for example, are there cheap radios that the village should have for these things that, so we're not just relying on John and the police radios. We have some way of communicating with ourselves. Is there a way we should be doing that? I thought maybe, Ron and Sarah, know if there's a sort of protocol for that you guys might know of, like, what's a citizen recommendation for that if the Army may get.
I think the fire department's pretty good about,
They have radios.
they do have radios.
They
they're
have radios that there's actually countywide frequencies.
Yes, and then they can do
Where like
private
if
ones.
I'm at a scene and the fire department's coming, I can switch and talk to the fire department. I
Okay,
can talk to like the different DPWs that all got in on that radio.
And they can
Okay.
talk to each other
Good.
without being on the
Right, yeah.
grid where everybody listening, so that's
Okay.
possible.
yeah, that's nice.
Well,
So is-
well, I'd like though for us to get something out of this as well. Unlike last time they came up,
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna give us a playbook for some scenarios. So if this is a scenario, a massive flood, whatever it is, at the end of the day, there should be some kind of debrief and say, okay, let us ask some questions. Like, for example, if there was a massive flood, what do you recommend we do? Where would our casualty collection point be?
Right.
Where would we all muster in case of, what should the mayor go, what should he do?
Yeah.
Some kind of playbook, because they probably have that, so let's get that from them in the
Okay.
next exercise.
Sounds good. Yeah, I thought that'd be, you know, a start to just general safety.
When we talked about doing an emergency plan, or we had one somewhere,
There is a
and we
binder
don't know where it
No one
is.
knows. It's
Right,
Super
so.
useful, but honestly, it's old as well, so
We need
we need to kind of redo
Yeah,
that
no, that's,
exercise, and I do, I think, you know, for us, I told these guys the most realistic, because even for flooding, you know, we don't have the same risk as like a sea or the ocean for flooding. People's basements get ruined, there can be property damage, but it's not, the lake doesn't rise in that speed. But, you know, our most likely disaster is a long power outage in the winter. And that, I think, is what if we're going to like
Or
brainstorm
an ice
process,
storm
that's
or
the most
a
likely.
Microburst,
Yeah,
because we've all had
Yeah.
those here.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, the microburst is, same, but just slightly less dangerous because people don't freeze, but yeah, a
Right.
long power outage due to a storm.
Yeah.
And I think if we're going to like build a playbook, that's what we
that
should
would be nice,
start with.
that would be nice, yeah.
They wanted to do a flood and this is their exercise, so.
Asteroid hits the lake, water
You can
rises.
get it, it's the only way you get a title.
Too many video games, yeah. Earthquake like we had last year in the middle of the lake, and it was big, tsunami.
Anyway, so, I'll send you guys,
yeah.
the Army Reserve email chain that I had, but I wanted to give you an update on that. And then from there, we can circle up about like a general safety and logistics meeting for the eclipse. I'm gonna try and get some hard numbers about whether or not they're actually sending buses this way to drop people off. For what it's worth, we do have Annie in the Water playing now, Ballroom Saturday, so it should be,
Yeah.
you know, decent regional crowd count. But I do think we'll have a lot of activity that weekend and that day, so
I just, I pray to the rain.
it'll still be dark.
It'll still be dark, you're right.
We'll find out. Yeah, if the weather's bad, likely we'll have less happy people. If the weather's nice, it could be.
I think the big key is how many schools are gonna close,
Yeah.
and like, that's the big, you
Yeah.
know, our family's gonna be able to do it, or are the kids gonna be in school?
Well, the concern is
Nobody
if
knows
the third
yet.
lock right after the eclipse, because in the Tennessee area, it was 12 hours for people to exit the area, because everyone left at the same time. So one of the recommendations was do some stuff Monday night, and that's like, Cheryl is opening the boathouse that week instead of waiting till May. She's got a band that starts at 4 PM after the eclipse. So the smart play is go to the band, hang out for a day, and then on Tuesday, you're not gonna be stuck in traffic for 10 hours. But a lot of people are just gonna leave, and if we don't want a school bus stuck in that, so hopefully that risk will encourage the schools to close, and that'll help. Because then we have access to buses for transit, and we have access to parking. The schools are open, we can't use any of that.
I would say if we do find out that the people are gonna be busing into town, that we let Jen know, because that will be a concern for, if they're not dismissing early,
Right.
they could, like, if she's not aware of that, that could be a problem.
Okay, let's plan for it.
Yeah.
Cool. That is all I have.
Real quick, two things. I don't have any updates on the LDC property. We're still kind of going through everything more. The other thing for the rec committee is, we did submit. I know the town did their budget. It did in December. We actually coordinated with the town. We used to do 12.5 each, because we match each other for the rec committee, town and village. We upped it to 15,000 this year. We still haven't put up the ice skating rink yet. We're waiting for the weather to get to where it needs to be. Ski club for the school has started as well. That's all I have. Pending your questions.
The ice rink would be gone. this
The
winter.
liner, the new liner.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. More of a sale today.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Rob? All right, Kelly, you're up.
Okay, Sackett, the fire department, their fire reports for December are included. I did want to make mention, Peggy forwarded New York State Volunteer Fire Infrastructure and Response Equipment Grant opportunity for the fire department that's going to be due in April. The fire department is putting a committee together to kind of feel out, you know, what would they apply for and those kinds of things. I will mention that because it's a couple things. It's an infrastructure or equipment grant. So infrastructure means building. They share a building space with us, so it could require a partnership with us in order for them to be able to do that, just to keep that in mind. If they opt not to do that, they did talk about perhaps, you know, they could get funding for a new roof, which would then benefit us because it's our building, that kind of stuff. The other option was perhaps a new training facility. But if they did the training facility, it would be on the LDC plot that we talked about, so we might have to do something with that.
Yeah.
Just giving them permission, signing off, doing something
Do
like
you know
that.
what the, like, do they have a min max on the grant amounts?
So it's $1 million grant for infrastructure
Okay.
potentially, or $500,000 for equipment, but the equipment does not include apparatus. So the committee has to sit down and figure out what is it that they want. They could do a training facility for like 300,000. So I'm kind of thinking that's probably what they're gonna be looking to do.
Sure.
Training, the nearest training facility is on Fort Drum, and that's an ordeal for any volunteer fire department to get on post.
Okay.
They gotta get signed on, they gotta do all this approval. So for them to have one, they used to have one out at Dry Hill and that closed, so there isn't one. Fort Drum is literally the only one there. So if Sackets were to get approved, we could then be like the county's volunteer training facility, which could be a potential positive for getting approved for the grant. So just letting you know that they're starting that. I'll keep you apprised as to what they finally decide on doing. But I just wanted to let you know in case we need to kind of sign something because that land's not in their name yet. Do we have to like
Right, yeah,
Work
they
with
need
them
site
on it.
control, so we have to
Yes.
do it this way.
The other thing I wanted to mention attached to my report, the ambulance approached me. There's a letter included from the fire department that they're on the ambulance, they have a tablet. The tablet broke. The tablet was used. It's been broken, I realize this, but they finally got rid of it. So, it's to replace it with whatever like the bigger ambulances are using, it would cost them with the. What is they're asking for, sorry, 1738.95, with the mount, that's what I was looking, so with a mount, it would be mounted in the ambulance. But they could move it, so like they can take it off the mount if they need to, but I don't know if you guys realize how many PCRs or hours it takes for them to fill out reports after they go on an ambulance call. So for them to be able to start immediately on that report as a volunteer is super helpful. The fact that the tablet hasn't been working just causes them more work because they have to come to the station and fill it out. This would help. So they're asking for ARPA funds. I told them I would put the request in. It's up to you guys whether or not you approve it. I'm just a asking person.
Sure.
But they. I don't know, I need to decide and let them know.
What do we have left in the ARPA, 68?
Ron. Got that? You got that right now?
Oh,
Budget,
Yeah.
you what page are we?
Probably faster for her to find it.
So you all missed a really good joke earlier, because he has asked for 3 months in a row for the year-to-date financials, and she had it printed out, and we taped it under his chair and told him we're gonna tell him when he asked before the meeting even started.
So nobody got to see him pull it off. the
You
chair.
can all imagine.
it was like
great.
Oprah Winfrey, that was like, you know. What I was looking for is I wanted to see at 6 months, how did we do from a
How close are
budgeting
we?
actual versus a plan? My question is, I don't disagree, we need this, we need to get that. Instead of ARPA funds, can we just roll it into the budget? How soon do they need this thing?
They were hoping to purchase it right away, like they're without one right now, like they literally had to turn in. So I thought ARPA funds, we could do that faster
Yeah, that's it.
than putting it into a budget request.
I thought we had like 80 to 90.
I
No,
thought we
they-
had
you
80
were-
to
I'm,
90
I'm,
also.
yeah, that 60 was a guess, I,
I think we're still around 90,
okay.
I think we are too.
because we're gonna use some ARPA funds for the party.
So to be clear, we do have to allocate all of those by the end of this.
We have to allocate it but not spend it, so.
not that
Okay.
We are short.
By the end of the
on
calendar year, or
Twenty
like,
twenty-four.
but calendar,
Yes.
Yeah, we have to
Yes,
allocate it by the December of
24.
24. And then I think we have
But
a
we
year,
have
a
two-
following year to spend it.
2
or
years
two?
to spend it. So like, say we earmark a project.
Yeah.
But as long as we earmark it by the end of this year, but say the project isn't finished until 26, we're good.
Yeah.
6490,
Yeah, that's pretty close.
2005.
One over, so. You will?
So this is less than 2,000. It's up to you guys, but.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it's-
thought it would
that's
help
all.
them. They don't, as we've talked about this before, they don't have incoming money. They don't have a budget line. The ambulance runs completely separate from the fire department. So.
Do we need quotes?
They've got quotes, I can have them give that to her. So
Under-
because it's a,
No?
Yeah, they don't.
So they just need.
they don't need it, right?
Oh, okay.
They don't
Oh,
have to do
right.
it.
Sorry.
If we wanted to just be consistent.
I will
But
say,
also it's a specific.
it is very specific for what they need to do with it, so there's that,
No, we've done that in the past where it's like, if there's one model we need, so.
and that's where
Like
they
just
are with
we
that.
get a quote from Best Buy. and
They
Amazon,
had an
it's like a
Apple
little performance.
tablet and it did not do at all what they
Yeah.
needed to do, it actually made it harder, so this one is made specifically for this kind of report, so it'll make it much faster.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine, I mean, they're volunteers, like it's hard work.
It's just
They're
a lot of
sitting-
time, so
I-
anything to
If I
save
understand
them.
it, they're sitting in the ambulance waiting for paperwork for the
Yes.
police, and they could be doing this at the same time,
Yes.
and instead now they're sitting waiting to go back to the station and then start the report.
Right,
So it's like, it's taxing, and I think we don't wanna overwork them unnecessarily.
It falls
I'm
under-
happy to throw it in.
It falls under the ARPA
Yeah.
umbrella too.
For sure.
It supports everybody.
What do you think?
Do we make a motion or do we get
I
the,
don't know, do we need a motion to spend
I think
this
so.
money, or we just need an
just
approval?
on the
Why not?
record for ARPA funds?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let them know.
So you make a motion and we'll.
Oh, I'll make a motion to give the ambulance crew $1,738.95 to purchase a tablet for the ambulance.
Wait, how much does the
Are
one
they-
Ainsley just broke cost? We
Right.
added to it?
Pardon me?
Deal.
Her daughter broke her iPad.
Oh.
today. She called very upset.
Oh.
Wants our phone.
I second the allocation of those funds for the equipment.
All in favor?
Last thing, I just wanted to put out a public thank you to Goodfellows and the Whiskey Coop for donating the gift cards for the holiday contest. Whiskey Coop and the Goodfellows both gave us a gift card for the winners. So I just wanted to publicly put that out there.
Did you win?
I still contest it. I don't- I don't-
We're looking for judges. if
I don't, I don't know.
The election truthers that were here last week got him, now he's. he's got the playbook.
Yeah, no, I don't acknowledge those results.
All right,
Do you-
any other questions for Kelly?
I'm just double checking with Shannon if she needs anything specifically.
Are they gonna order it or are we going to
They,
order it? Are
uh,
they gonna order it on a PO and then I can just pay it in the bills or?
yes, let's do that. Okay, I'll tell them.
Make sure they get the tax off of it.
Tax off PO.
Anything else for Kelly, guys? All right, great.
Well, we already talked about Lakeview Estates. That was really all I wanted to talk about. We went through the.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
I mean, it's not a heavy lift.
Yeah.
It really isn't. So.
Cool. All right, any questions for Greg, guys?
Thanks for sending me a copy of that thing.
You got it. right?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
You did that a lot, so we're not sure if you're joking.
No, I got it.
That's,
No, I got it. I appreciated it. Thank
All
you.
right,
I sent you a draft and I didn't get any comments from it.
He doesn't read his emails. Haven't we established this
I
already?
acknowledge I got an email from you and that's all I'm doing.
that's a big step.
I didn't read it.
All right, Sarah, you got anything for us?
No, I'm looking forward to getting some projects.
Yeah, we're gonna do some for the committee sign stuff for the. Anybody have any questions for Sarah? All right. Correspondence. Sides to it.
You have
Whatever.
an event application, is
We
that
do,
correct?
so this is, it's not looking for approval today, I
Oh.
wanted to get you this in front of you guys. This gentleman called the chamber, talked to Scott, Scott Luke Ropes, yeah, Luke's not Ropes. And I met up with him, he wants to run, he's doing one in Rochester and in Buffalo on the day of the eclipse. Both of those, he's doing one just before and just after. I told him if it's gonna work here, there have to be no road closures. And it's gotta be before, so he's looking at 11 o'clock. The route on this map changed slightly from when he showed me, he actually came and ran it again yesterday. The one spot I said would be, I thought okay to do the finish was between. My place and the ice cream shop on Ambrose, if they need a small section just to have a finish line. But if they modify this to not be on Main, I told him I would get him at least a go, no go on promoting it. He said if it doesn't come together, he can just refund people. But he wants to start promoting it soon. Essentially, it would just be a loop around the waterfront. where you would, road closure. They've got 250 in Rochester. He thinks he can do 100 people for this one. I think it'll mostly be locals and people that are already coming, but all the hotels in the area are full and people are looking for what they're gonna do for the whole weekend, so. I think it's cool.
Is this the day of the?
Yeah, it's
the
Monday
liquid?
morning.
So it's Monday.
Mhm. And he asked if he needed insurance in advance. I said no, because if we don't approve it, you don't need to pay for an insurance cert. He said he would. I told him February would be the official approval date, but I wanted you guys to get a look at it. So that if you have any other concerns besides getting him off Main and just on that loop. That we could bring it to his attention.
Where does he want to start?
He has it starting up at the church parking lot, but that's a change from when we talked
This
yesterday.
is Studley Park.
Is it, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the map here, but. Yeah, it's across the street, but,
That's a weird spot. to
no,
do
it's
that.
not, it's not the right place to do it,
Okay, I was
but,
gonna say, that's a weird spot.
I think he extended it to make it an actual 5K.
Okay,
Because I had him. When he showed me this map that he ran, it was starting and ending.
Okay.
And
He's basically just East Main, he's not in the business district.
Yeah, but
the only thing I would suggest is he starting at the church?
I'm gonna have him move that so he's not on Main at all.
Right.
I told him like, if you're gonna do this, you cannot cross Broad or Main unless and I said, if you're gonna do the trail, we'll have a
Okay.
flagger at the crosswalk by the school, where.
Okay,
But I
I
was like,
just
we're
was
not
thinking
closing
if they were
streets.
starting at the church, they need to talk to the church. It's their
Yeah.
parking lot, it's their property. I don't
No,
want.
so the route's gonna change a little, cause I basically encouraged him, like, if you're gonna do it, you gotta either do it in the barracks or do it on the battlefield or around the battlefield area. But we can't be running through the middle of the village or crossing streets on a day when we're gonna have a lot of traffic.
That's true.
But, yeah, so we don't need to approve it. He was gonna actually send a real copy and not just photos of it, so.
With a new route on it.
Yes.
Okay,
But I just wanna get it in front of you guys, so that. If you all were like, absolutely not, I don't want him to go do this work. So I figured, get a little bit of input and just say, hey.
Yeah.
You
As
know,
long as he doesn't mess with the rest of the stuff going on.
Yeah.
I'm okay with
I
that.
mean, that's what we've been, unlike a lot of our events in the village where our hardest job is marketing and getting people here, this is like, the traffic's coming. And it's just ours to handle one way or the other. So I think a 5K is nice, especially if it's early on Monday before, the beginning of the partial eclipse starts around 2 o'clock. So that's when like the moon will actually start blocking sunlight. So this will be done by
12:30.
noon if somebody's really walking it. So, okay. Through old business, we talked a little bit about this already. We're gonna do a sort of brainstorming work session about the housing authority. In a couple of weeks.
Did you want to tell me what you
But-
found out though from the?
Yeah, so I gave Betsy, I forwarded you Jim's memo.
Yes.
I didn't wanna. Send it out to your board unless you had a chance to review it and send it to them first.
Right.
So. But I did share that with them. I kind of told them our position. I mentioned to her my suggestion. Or my idea of a way we could help. I think. Greg and Sarah both commented on that, saying basically they agreed, but we've talked a lot about bringing in a grant writer, like a staff grant writer to the village with the town. The fire department needs, there's always grant writing. We don't have the bandwidth to attack, and with somebody on staff, we would have a lot more opportunity to bring in money. For all these different things. So. I wanted these guys to have time to like, look at the situation from Jim's memo. Think about what other solutions we could have, what we could do in the short term. Lynn will be coming so that he can talk about what sort of in-kind work, off the cuff. Would it help if they plowed and the manager, or what do you call it? Is the United Helpers.
Yeah.
If they didn't have to, could that save money or not? Maybe it's not worth the effort, maybe it is. We need his input on that. I don't,
They don't actually have a plowing company hired to plow this winter.
Oh.
They don't have a contract. I was just gonna
Oh,
say.
They don't have a contract.
so you're gonna be tired from all the shoveling, Betsy?
Yeah.
I got flagged down by the maintenance guy over there.
CJ.
Yeah, and, their tractor's broken, they don't have a contractor to plow. And they can't get parts because all their accounts are on hold.
Oh, good.
Is that accurate?
Okay,
The accounts from United Helpers?
No, like at Casanova, like took hit for the tractor and Ace Hardware. and all
Who
that.
holds those accounts though?
What's that?
it's United Helpers accounts?
Is it a United Helpers account that's on hold?
Yeah, whoever he usually bills through.
Nice.
Okay.
Just I just wanted to bring that up because I don't know how much you guys have in contact with the management company.
So we directly do not, and actually in Jim's memo, he talks about that, like. The board is a mayoral appointed board, and we do not have oversight except removing members who are basically. Not doing their job, and there's a whole process with actually requirement of a hearing to do that. But we don't have any technical oversight. You're allowed to ask us to help, but we can't intervene without your board's request or permission.
Right.
I've never spoken to anyone at United Helpers directly.
Well, I am in contact with them quite often, but this is new to me.
Right, and that's why I wanted to make you aware of it, because from our end of it, I mean, the police, like, we have four-wheel drive and stuff to get in there.
Yeah.
But as far as like the ambulance getting in there and stuff, and what is it, it's 55 and older housing.
Yeah. And does it,
So, and the ambulance goes in there quite a bit, so if it's not gonna be plowed and
Okay.
that's gonna be an issue.
yeah, I'll reach out to them.
Yeah.
After I spoke with you, I spoke with our contact at USDA.
Okay,
And I mentioned to her that our capital needs in the near future are 375,000, which is the paving, the sidewalks and the water drainage issue.
Yeah.
Which just recently I got a call from Tim C. that, not Tim C. Oh my goodness,
Dean
Dean DeVito, that the water again recently has just come into his property all the way up to like where his pool is. So, so that part is really important. And then we had asked, our mortgage is due in 10 years. So, and it's at 11.875%. So I wanted to know, can we refinance it at a lower rate and get more money to help with some of these things that are needed? And the capital needs assessment, 375 is what we need soon, but then in total, it's like $1.6 million. So she said that right now there's no funding available, but in February, they start opening up applications. So she's gonna get me an application.
yeah,
We're also to have a call within the next 2 weeks with their department that discusses funding and
Yeah.
mortgages, and she wasn't even aware if we could even refinance what we already have, you know.
gotcha.
She did say that it always looks much better if the village is also willing to help,
Sure.
you know,
Sure.
so.
Shannon, when we do like our municipal debt, is that with any bank, we get that, there's like a pretty low rate we get when we borrow?
I think that we can only borrow from other towns.
Okay, and what,
Or
okay,
no, you're talking depository trust,
because in Jim's memo, he says we can, I mean, really, he lists everything we can do, and it's every option I could think of. It's we can give the money, we can loan the money, we can have them borrow money with our credit against municipal rates, which are, I think, 2 or 3%, which significantly less than 11.
Okay.
So there could be options there. I'll talk to the bank and see if that's something that they could help us look at refinancing what they have at a better rate, such that they can maybe pull some cash out, put it into the mortgage, basically refinance at a lower rate and get the cash you need to do some of the work.
Right, but we have to keep a mortgage with USDA or they do not supplement rents.
I see.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
that's
Okay.
why,
Maybe they may have worked with some other housing authorities too, so I'll
Yeah.
see if Watertown has any
and that would
suggestions.
be a good phone call to Jim, Yvonne.
Okay,
so we can still keep a mortgage, like if we could get a new mortgage with them for
understood.
X amount.
Yeah,
And then also get another with the village, that's acceptable, but we have to keep that.
is that the original mortgage? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
people complain about rates now, but rates in
I'll
the
just
eighties
take
were
a
like
state
11 to 17%.
It was in the eighties.
Yeah,
Yeah, 81.
Wow,
And what's left on it?
Sorry, about 700,000.
wow.
Yeah, that 11% doesn't get paid quick.
For 50 years. I was saying, we're at 50+ years.
50 years.
Yeah. Yeah, so they pretty well on us.
Wow.
But I think at the time, I think the market rates were like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
So they gave, that was a good deal at the
Yeah.
time. Okay, so I'll talk to Watertown and see if they have any insight that might help. And in the meantime, we have our kind of work sesh is gonna be in like 10 days, so we'll get back to you after that.
Okay.
And with some more info.
Yeah,
That's,
And let me know, yeah, if you hear anything from them again,
Mhm.
give me a holler and we'll talk to, when Lynn's back. We'll have a quick chat about, because we are able to do in-kind services, so if we literally don't have a plow, I'd be
I don't
fine
wanna
saying for-
commit to him until he is able, like, there's
Understood.
only 2 or 3 guys, I don't wanna
Yeah.
commit them to anything else without him
Yeah,
here.
but even if we'll find someone local who can plow it, we can't have the ambulance unable to get in
I
there.
thought,
absolutely.
So-
I thought Mark Justman plowed you.
Yeah.
But
There's more to the story.
He didn't get
I
a
don't think
request
United
this year.
Helpers will tell you that.
No, they
Yeah.
didn't. He didn't get a request for
Yeah.
a,
Several times.
and they didn't get back
They
to
didn't
him.
get back.
I know, I just talked to him about it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he submitted a quote, but they didn't reply.
Okay, I'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah. Cause I think you have someone willing, he's just not
Yeah, because he does our garbage,
correct.
so.
And he's already there.
Well, if
and
they're,
he's-
if they're on
always
hold, it
done
means
it.
they're not paying
They
their bill.
shoveled
Right,
and.
So
but
they may be-
they called him to plow, and this is coming from Mark, so it's not rumor, whatever.
Yeah.
They called him to plow and he was very confused. He said, I'm not under contract, and United Helpers response was, well, if you don't hear from us, then you should assume that you're under contract.
No.
And he
that's
said,
not
well,
what
if that's the case, you're 6
Shoot, that
months
means we're all
behind on a contract.
Yeah.
So, no, not doing it.
Yeah.
So,
So he won't do it? He won't do the plowing?
no,
or-
he won't. I mean, he's obviously gotta get paid if he's gonna go over there. So,
Well, yeah, but.
Okay,
but there's definitely miscommunication there.
I'll find out tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess we're here just to know you got our back. You know, obviously the housing authority was created, you know, by the village, 40 years ago. And just to let it take off and run on its own until it fizzles out, it's probably not gonna be good for the village.
Yeah.
So.
no, I appreciate that.
Permits are over there?
24,
24 of them.
Yeah, we all-
Are they full?
that's not,
yes.
We have a wait list usually, right?
Yeah, we have a
And there's only 4 our market rate, is that 4 or 7?
4,
4, yeah, 4 are market rate, the rest are subsidized 90%
yeah,
by USDA,
yes,
which, yeah, so they're,
that's why we have to have the mortgage with them.
okay,
The tenant actually pays 30% of what they get per month, and then USDA makes up the difference.
Right.
any other questions for those guys, what we got over here?
we do have your back.
Good, we'll get you some updates within it's about 2 weeks, we'll be able to give you some more info.
So-
And I'll let you know if I talk to the Watertown and they have anything useful, I'll tell you right away, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say when that memo from Jim was really good. It's kind of when you read through it, you realize what an awesome responsibility it is to be on the authority and to have, to make sure that facility runs. And, we're just volunteers too, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I read that and I says, why do I want to be on this board? It's like, because if we mess up, the
Yeah.
consequences are huge.
Yeah.
People's
We
lives.
appreciate the work and yeah, that was when we first talked about this, I was like, well, if we leave them out to dry and they all quit, it's our problem back
Yeah,
again, so, but not that that's what we would ever do.
No.
Public comment?
Well, no,
No,
do
we're
we
gonna
have-
be losing the
Do we
power.
have any new business? I don't think we do.
No.
All right. Yeah, I guess public comment, we'll start on Zoom. We only have, the 2, Don Woodhouse, who's the only guy on there without, hasn't spoken yet. You have anything for us, Don? All right, nothing from him. Anybody in the room for public comments? All right. Don, you wanna do the honors here?
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right,
I'll second.
all in favor? Aye. 78, you beat it by 6 minutes. All right,
I was.
I know, but
You're getting that.